When Jimin mocks Jungkook's tears, Jungkook's shocking response on stage silences everyone in this fiery, emotional showdown of pride, pain, and betrayal. Are you seriously crying over this? Pathetic? The words cut through the room like a blade, sharp enough to slice the air in two. Jungkook froze, disbelief tangled with fury, the humiliation flooding into him like a poison he couldn't spit out. Pathetic? Jungkook's voice cracked but rose with heat. You're calling me pathetic, Jimin? After everything? Jimin leaned forward, his tone dripping with mockery. Oh, don't twist this around. I'm not the one breaking down like a child because the spotlight shifted for 5 seconds. If you can't handle it, maybe you shouldn't be here. The others in the room turned quiet. No one dared to interrupt. It wasn't the first time tensions had sparked between them. But tonight, something was different tonight. It was raw, unforgiving, and too public to contain. Do you even hear yourself? Jungkook snapped. You think this is about the spotlight? You think this is about attention? No, Jimin, it's about respect. And you lost every drop of it the moment you laughed at me when I couldn't hold it together. Jimin scoffed, but his eyes burned. Respect? Don't lecture me about respect, Jungkook. You've been acting like a king who owns the stage, dismissing everyone else's effort. And now you want me to respect you for crying? For weakness? Please. You live in a fantasy. Jungkook slammed his words out like they were bullets. A fantasy? The only fantasy here is you pretending you care about this group while stabbing me in the back every chance you get. You laugh when I'm at my lowest, Jimin. What kind of brother does that? For a moment, silence swallowed the room, heavy and suffocating. The manager shifted uncomfortably but stayed silent. The members exchanged worried glances, but no one dared intervene. This wasn't just an argument. It was a rupture. A wound tearing open before their eyes. Brother? Jimin finally said, his voice cold. Stop calling me that. We stopped being brothers when you chose to put your pride above everything. Don't you dare blame me for your own fragility. Jungkook's fists curled tight at his sides, but he didn't lash out physically. Instead, his words became sharper, cutting deeper than any strike could. If I'm fragile, then at least I'm real. At least I'm not hiding behind fake smiles and pretending everything's fine when inside you're drowning in jealousy. You think I don't see it? You think I don't know? The color drained from Jimin's face, his jaw tightening. Jealousy? You seriously think I'm jealous of you? You are, Jungkook said, his tone unwavering. Every time the crowd screams louder for me, every time the spotlight lands on me, you smile, but your eyes tell the truth. You can't stand it. That's why you laughed when I cried. It wasn't about me being weak, it was about you celebrating my fall. The tension was unbearable, but Jimin refused to let go. You think you figured me out? You think standing on stage a little brighter makes you better? Let me tell you something, Jungkook. I've bled for this career. I've broken myself for it. And you, the golden child, get handed everything. And then you cry? Do you know how insulting that is? Jungkook's breath caught. The truth in Jimin's words struck deep, but he wouldn't give him the satisfaction of surrender. You're right, Jungkook admitted, his voice low but laced with fire. I was handed things you weren't. I was praised when you were overlooked. But do you think I asked for it? Do you think I wanted to be the reason you felt invisible? No, that was never my choice. But laughing at me, mocking me when I break, that was yours. The room thickened with an unspoken weight, the kind of heaviness that smothers and suffocates. No one dared to breathe too loudly. And then, as if fate were cruel, the call came. Showtime. The group was ushered onto the stage, lights blinding, cheers deafening. But between Jimin and Jungkook, the world narrowed into a battlefield with no escape. The music began, but the energy was poisoned, charged with invisible electricity. Halfway through the performance, Jungkook's voice cracked not from strain, but from the storm raging inside him. The crowd cheered louder, mistaking his trembling heart for passion. Jimin shot him a glance, one laced with the same disdain he had shown backstage. That was the breaking point. When the song ended, instead of bowing, Jungkook grabbed the mic. His voice, trembling but furious, rang out across the arena. Do you all want to know the truth? He shouted, the crowd erupting into confused murmurs. The truth is, some of us here would rather see me break than see me shine. Some of us would rather laugh at my tears than stand beside me when I fall. The arena froze. The members turned to stone. And Jimin's smile, that carefully built mask, shattered in front of thousands. No one spoke. No one moved. The silence was deafening. Jungkook dropped the mic and walked off stage, leaving the air torn wide open, leaving everyone, fans, members, even Jimin himself, paralyzed by the weight of words that could never be taken back. The night that should have been a celebration became a battlefield where truths were weaponized, and every scar was laid bare for the world to see. And in that silence, the fracture widened, echoing louder than any applause. You had no right to say that on stage. Jimin's voice sliced through the backstage chaos the moment Jungkook reappeared. The cheers of the crowd still echoed in the distance, muffled yet relentless, a stark contrast to the icy confrontation unfolding in the shadows. The other members lingered, caught between fear and fury, unwilling to interfere but unable to leave. Jungkook stopped walking. His back stiffened, but he didn't turn around. No right. You mocked me in front of them all long before I spoke tonight. Don't you dare talk to me about rights. Jimin stepped closer, his words dripping venom. You humiliated me. Do you have any idea what you just did out there? You think exposing us to thousands of fans makes you strong? No, it makes you reckless. It makes you weak. Finally, Jungkook spun around, his eyes blazing. Weak? That's rich, coming from someone who laughs at another man's tears just to feel taller. What's weaker? Jimin crying. Or pretending you don't feel a damn thing while dying inside? The room fell into a suffocating silence. Taehyung opened his mouth, then closed it again, as if the fire between them would burn him if he dared speak. Namjoon pressed his palm to his temple, but he, too, remained silent. Jimin's lips curled, his voice low, dangerous. You think you know me, Jungkook. You think you've seen what I hide, but you've seen nothing. You cry for the cameras, but I've bled for this group in ways you'll never understand. Then explain it, Jungkook barked. Tell me why the hell you laugh when I'm broken. Tell me why you look at me like I'm some enemy, when all I ever wanted was to stand beside you, not above you. Jimin's silence was louder than his words. He looked away, but not in defeat, in defiance, as if daring Jungkook to push further. And Jungkook did. You're jealous, Jimin. Admit it. You can't stand that they love me louder, that they chant my name longer. But instead of facing it, you cut me down. You tear me apart so you won't feel small. The words hit like gunfire. Jimin flinched not visibly enough for the others to see, but Jungkook caught it. The truth had landed. You arrogant child, Jimin hissed. You think this is about jealousy? I don't envy your fame, Jungkook. I pity it, because you don't even see how it's destroying you. You're addicted to their cheers, drowning in their love, and the moment it fades, you'll collapse. You think you're untouchable, but you're already breaking. Jungkook's voice trembled, but not with fear, with rage. Better to break in front of the world than rot in silence like you. At least I'm not hiding. Jin finally stepped forward, his tone sharp. Enough, both of you. But neither listened. Jimin leaned in, his voice so sharp it drew blood without a blade. One day, Jungkook, they'll stop chanting your name. They'll look at you and see nothing but another fallen star. And when that day comes, remember this moment. Remember that I warned you. Jungkook's chest heaved. His next words were quieter, but they carried the weight of a confession that scorched the air. And when that day comes, I'll still have more than you ever will, because at least they loved me without condition. Can you say the same? The blow landed deeper than any insult. Jimin's silence was a crack in his armor, a fracture so sudden it left the room hollow. Namjoon's voice finally cut in, stern, commanding. Both of you, out, now. But the damage was done. They stormed out in opposite directions, leaving the others standing in the wreckage of words that could not be taken back. The night dragged on, but neither found sleep. Jungkook lay awake, replaying the scene, every word stabbing like glass in his chest. The humiliation, the rage, the betrayal, it gnawed at him until he sat up, unable to stay still. He wanted to scream, to fight, to demand an apology Jimin would never give. Meanwhile, Jimin sat alone in the practice room, staring at the floor. Jungkook's words haunted him like a curse. At least they loved me without condition. He clenched his fists, but the tremor in them betrayed what he would never say aloud. Because deep down, he knew Jungkook was right. The following day brought no peace. Cameras, reporters, fans, all of them were still buzzing about Jungkook's outburst. Headlines screamed controversy. Forums ignited with theories. Some praised his honesty, others condemned him for dragging personal conflict onto the stage. And through it all, Jimin remained silent, his absence louder than any statement. When the group finally gathered for rehearsal, the tension was suffocating. The manager barked instructions, but no one truly listened. The air was heavy with unsaid words, unfinished battles. Jungkook broke first. "Say it, Jimin. Whatever poison you've been choking on, spit it out. I'm done pretending this doesn't exist." Jimin's head snapped up. His voice was calm, but his words were knives. "Fine. You want the truth? The truth is, I hate that I need you. I hate that every stage feels empty if you're not on it. I hate that no matter how hard I work, they scream your name louder. And I hate myself for resenting you, because I know it's not your fault. But I can't stop. That's the truth." The room froze. Every breath stalled. Even Jungkook faltered. "You hate me," Jungkook whispered. "I hate what you represent," Jimin corrected, his voice breaking in places he couldn't control. "I hate that you're the reminder of everything I couldn't be. And yes, sometimes I hate you because it's easier than hating myself." Jungkook's chest tightened. For the first time, his rage dulled, replaced by something raw, something he couldn't name. "Then laugh at me all you want. Tear me down. But don't pretend you're not bleeding too, Jimin. Don't act like you're stronger because you hide it. You're not." The silence that followed was not empty. It was heavy, filled with unshed confessions, regrets, and the echo of wounds laid bare. And though no fists were thrown, the battlefield between them stretched wider, deeper, impossible to bridge. But the world outside didn't care. The cameras kept rolling, the schedules piled on, and the stage awaited. And the war between Jimin and Jungkook was far from over. "You think you silenced me out there? No, Jungkook, you only exposed yourself." Jimin's words fell like venom into the rehearsal room the next morning, and the weight of them made the silence unbearable. The others froze mid-step, their practice halted, eyes darting between the two of them, as if waiting for a bomb to detonate. Jungkook had walked in late, still seething from the headlines, still furious that the storm was painted entirely around his name. His hands clenched into fists before he even answered. "Expose myself? Jimin, you mocked me, and I defended myself. Don't twist this into some game where you get to play the victim. I spoke the truth." Jimin's laugh was sharp, bitter. "Truth? Don't pretend it was bravery, that was desperation. You needed to turn the crowd against me to feel like you won." The accusation stabbed, but Jungkook didn't flinch. "I didn't need them. I needed you to stop tearing me apart every time I let my guard down. But you couldn't do it. You'd rather humiliate me than admit you're drowning too. Stop projecting your weakness onto me," Jimin shot back. "I didn't ask you to cry. I didn't ask you to break down. And I definitely didn't ask you to drag our private war onto the stage." Namjoon's voice thundered from the corner, harsher than usual. "Enough. Both of you, enough." His patience had frayed, and even his authority seemed thin under the fire sparking between them. "We can't survive like this. Do you even understand what's happening outside? Fans are dividing. Reporters are hunting. The group is breaking, and you're feeding the fire." But Jungkook and Jimin barely heard him. Their eyes were locked, their words sharper than any blade. "You think you're untouchable because they love you," Jimin continued, his tone laced with bitterness. "But let me remind you, Jungkook, they loved others before you, and they'll love others after. You're temporary." Jungkook's voice cracked under the weight of rage. "And what are you then? Background noise? The shadow no one remembers? Is that why you laugh at me, because you can't stand that I'm the echo they'll never forget?" Gasps rippled among the members. Taehyung stepped forward, his tone desperate. "Stop it! Both of you stop it before you say something you can't take back." But the words had already been said. Jimin froze, his breath heavy. For a moment it seemed like he'd lash out with violence. Instead, he whispered with a quietness more terrifying than a scream. "You'll regret this, Jungkook. You'll regret every word." Jungkook spat back without hesitation. "The only regret I'll ever have is believing you were my brother." The rehearsal shattered. The manager stormed in, yelling orders, but the words were meaningless against the storm, tearing the group apart. Cameras would never capture this battlefield, but the scars it left would bleed into every performance, every interview, every stage. That night, the world outside burned hotter. Social media erupted with arguments. Hashtags trended, some defending Jungkook for his honesty, others crucifying him for humiliating Jimin. Fandom wars ignited like gasoline, fans turning on each other with the same venom the two had thrown behind closed doors. But what the fans didn't know was the deeper fracture, the secret neither had dared to voice yet. It came late, when the dorm was heavy with silence, when the air was thick with unspoken words. Jungkook found himself pacing outside Jimin's door, his anger not enough to smother the ache gnawing at his chest. He wanted answers. He wanted truth. He wanted something. He pushed the door open without knocking. Jimin was sitting on the bed, his phone tossed aside, his expression hollow. He didn't even look up when Jungkook entered. "You can't keep doing this," Jungkook said, his voice trembling. "You can't keep cutting me down and then pretending nothing happened. If you hate me, say it. If you don't, then stop acting like you do. I can't breathe in this silence anymore." Jimin's reply was slow, deliberate. "You want me to say it? Fine. I don't hate you, Jungkook. I hate myself when I'm around you. I hate how small I feel when you sing, when you dance, when they scream your name. I hate how I vanish next to you. And laughing at you, it's the only time I don't feel invisible." Jungkook's chest tightened. He had expected venom, not confession. His voice softened, but the ache sharpened.
"Then why not tell me that before? Why laugh? Why not just say you were hurting?"
Jimin finally looked at him, eyes burning with a pain words couldn't mask. "Because saying it makes me weak. And if I let myself be weak, I'll collapse. I can't afford to collapse, Jungkook. Not when the only thing keeping me alive is pretending I don't feel it." The silence between them stretched long, heavy, with confessions too raw to heal. Jungkook whispered, "Then maybe we're both already collapsing. We're just doing it in different ways." For the first time in days, Jimin didn't reply with venom. But his silence was not forgiveness, it was surrender, the kind that carried no peace. Outside, the world kept cheering, kept chanting, kept demanding more. But inside that room, two men sat in ruins, their war far from over, their truths too sharp to bury. And as the dawn crept in, it carried with it the weight of another day, another stage, another battlefield. The war between Jimin and Jungkook was no longer a secret. It was a storm, and it was only just beginning. "You think the stage belongs to you just because you screamed louder?" Jimin's voice thundered across the practice hall, startling the staff who quickly shuffled out, sensing the storm about to unfold. The walls seemed to vibrate with his rage. But Jungkook didn't back down. He stood his ground, fire burning in his chest, the words clawing at his throat until they erupted. "The stage belongs to both of us, Jimin. To all of us. But you," Jungkook's voice cracked with fury, "you turned it into a weapon the moment you laughed at me for breaking. You crossed a line. And now you're angry because I finally drew mine." The room pulsed with tension. Taehyung tried to step in, but Jin held him back, whispering harshly, "Don't. This isn't something we can stop anymore." Jimin's eyes narrowed, his tone venomous. "You think you're noble for humiliating me in front of thousands? You think honesty absolves you of betrayal? You didn't expose me, Jungkook, you exposed yourself. Weak, desperate, starved for validation. And what about you?" Jungkook shot back. "You think hiding behind arrogance makes you stronger? You're choking on jealousy, Jimin, and instead of facing it, you spit it at me like poison." Jimin's laugh was hollow, cruel. "Jealousy? You arrogant child. You think I envy you? I don't envy the prison you live, in the cage of being worshipped one moment and destroyed the next. I don't envy the fragility of your ego, breaking at the first sign of struggle. If that's your crown, keep it. I'd rather be forgotten than live like you." The words struck deep, but Jungkook refused to waver. His chest heaved as he answered, each word burning. "Forgotten? You already are, Jimin. Every time the crowd chants my name, every time the spotlight shifts, you vanish. And you know it. That's why you keep clawing at me, because my existence reminds you that yours is fading." A gasp escaped Taehyung, but he was silenced by the look Namjoon shot him. The leader's jaw was tight, but he said nothing. Even he knew these words had to be spoken, no matter how dangerous. Jimin stepped closer, his voice low, sharp enough to cut skin. "You want the truth? Fine. I laughed because seeing you cry felt like justice. Because for once, you weren't perfect. For once, the golden boy shattered. And it was the only time I felt free." The admission pierced Jungkook deeper than any insult. He staggered back, his voice trembling with rage and heartbreak. Free? You call my pain your freedom? You disgust me, Jimin. Jimin's smirk faltered, but he didn't stop. You disgust me too. You and your fragile pride. Your desperate need to be loved. You think you're untouchable, but you're a ticking bomb. And when you explode, don't pretend I didn't warn you. Jungkook's fists trembled, his voice raw. I'd rather explode than rot in silence like you. At least my scars are real. At least I don't bury myself alive just to keep breathing. The silence that followed was suffocating. Every member stood frozen, too afraid to move, too afraid to breathe. Then Namjoon finally spoke, his voice steel. Enough. Both of you. You don't see it. But this isn't just about you anymore. The fans know. The press knows. The company knows. This fight is no longer private, it's war, and the whole world is watching. But neither Jimin nor Jungkook flinched. Their war had consumed them too completely. Later that night, the storm spilled into the dorm again. Jungkook sat in the living room, his hands pressed to his face, when Jimin entered. The air snapped tight between them, both too exhausted to fight, yet too wounded to stop. You want to know why I can't stop laughing at your pain? Jimin's voice was quieter now, but laced with the same venom, because it's the only time I don't feel invisible. When you break, I exist. That's the truth. Jungkook lowered his hands slowly, his eyes burning. Then you're sicker than I thought. You'd rather watch me bleed than admit you're bleeding too. Better your blood than mine, Jimin whispered. Something in Jungkook snapped. He stood, his voice rising into a roar. Do you hear yourself? You're supposed to be my brother, my family. But you... His breath hitched, his chest heaving. You've become my enemy. Jimin flinched, but only for a second. Then his voice hardened. If that's how you see me, then so be it. The words hung heavy, final, like a verdict. Neither could appeal. But what neither of them knew was that the company had already decided to exploit it. The next morning, a headline exploded across the internet. Jungkook versus Jimin, is BTS breaking apart? Clips of Jungkook's outburst on stage replayed endlessly, paired with rumors of Jimin's jealousy, theories of betrayal, whispers of disbandment. The world had taken their private war and turned it into public entertainment. At rehearsal, the manager's words were sharp, unyielding. You will perform together. You will smile. You will not let this scandal destroy everything. Do you understand? Jungkook's jaw clenched. Jimin's silence was colder than ice. And when the curtain rose that night, the cheers were deafening, but the stage was no longer a place of unity. It was a battlefield. Every lyric was a bullet. Every glance was a blade. Every movement screamed of a fracture too deep to hide. And as the lights dimmed, the applause rang hollow. The war was no longer behind closed doors. It was everywhere on stage, in headlines, in the hearts of fans. And for Jimin and Jungkook, there was no turning back. Do you want me gone? Is that it? Jungkook's voice rang through the empty stadium, raw and cracking, echoing against the vast seats that only hours later would be filled with screaming fans. He stood on the stage, microphone in hand, though no rehearsal was happening. His words aimed like arrows across the hollow space. Jimin was there too, standing at the opposite end of the platform, his arms folded, eyes locked on him with a coldness that was more painful than fury. I never said that, Jimin replied, his voice sharp but steady. But maybe you should ask yourself why the thought even crossed your mind. Because you've been pushing me away since the day this all began, Jungkook snapped, his voice echoing louder now. You laugh when I cry. You tear me down when I try to be honest, and you call me weak just for feeling anything at all. What else am I supposed to think, Jimin? That you actually want me here? Jimin's answer was immediate, almost rehearsed. I want you here because without you, this group falls apart. Don't mistake that for wanting you. I need you, Jungkook, but I don't want you. That's the difference. The words cut like blades, sharper than any scream could have been. Jungkook shook his head, his laugh bitter. So I'm just a tool to you. A voice, a face, a shield you hide behind when you feel invisible. That's all I am? Jimin's silence said more than any admission. Jungkook's chest heaved, his breath uneven. Do you have any idea how it feels to bleed on stage? Knowing the person standing beside me would rather watch me collapse than hold me up? Do you have any idea how much I wanted you to be proud of me instead of resenting me? Jimin finally stepped forward, his voice cracking, though he tried to hold it steady. Proud. How could I be proud when every cheer for you sounded like a silence for me? How could I be proud when your rise became my erasure? Don't you get it, Jungkook? I wasn't laughing at you because you were weak. I was laughing because, for once, you weren't perfect. And for one fleeting second, I wasn't in your shadow. Jungkook's heart pounded, his throat burning. So it was never about me. It was about you needing me to fail just to feel alive. Yes, Jimin admitted, his voice fierce, almost desperate. Because every day with you feels like suffocating under a sun I can't escape. You shine, Jungkook, and I burn. That's the truth. The confession hung heavy in the air. The empty seats seemed to absorb the weight of it, leaving silence thick and suffocating. Jungkook stepped closer, his voice softer now, but trembling with rage and sorrow. Then why didn't you tell me before? Why didn't you just say you were drowning instead of dragging me down with you? Jimin's lips parted, but no sound came. His throat tightened, his defenses crumbling for a moment. Because if I admitted it, then it would be real. And I don't know how to survive that kind of truth. Jungkook stared at him, searching for something: remorse, vulnerability, anything that could heal the wound splitting them apart. But all he found was the same wall that had always been there. He turned away, his voice breaking. Then maybe we can't survive together either. The words landed like a death sentence, echoing through the hollow stadium. Hours later, when the lights blazed and the fans screamed, the tension between them was invisible to the untrained eye. But beneath every smile, every note, every choreographed move, the truth pulsed like an open wound. The audience saw perfection. The members felt war. Midway through the concert, as the music swelled and Jungkook's voice soared, Jimin caught his gaze. For a brief second, it was as if the world froze. Their eyes locked. Fire meeting fire, pain meeting pain. And in that moment, Jungkook changed the lyrics. Just one line, just one word, but enough for the fans to notice, enough for the members to flinch. Don't laugh at my tears. They're more honest than your smile. The arena erupted. Cheers, deafening. Fans convinced it was passion, not war. But the members knew. Jimin knew. It was a strike, a dagger wrapped in melody. Backstage, chaos erupted. The manager stormed in, furious, but Jungkook shoved past him, heading straight for Jimin. The others scrambled to intervene, but it was too late. You want to laugh at me now? Jungkook growled, his chest heaving. Go ahead, laugh, because that line was for you. Every fan who heard it, they'll wonder, they'll question, and when they look at you, they'll see guilt. Jimin's voice rose like thunder. You think dragging me into your meltdown makes you righteous? You think humiliating me through a song makes you the victim? No, Jungkook, you've become exactly what you hate. You weaponize your pain. You turn it into applause. You manipulate their love just to stab me. And you, Jungkook snapped back, weaponize my scars just to cover your emptiness. At least I admit what I feel. At least I don't bury myself under a mask and call it strength. Jimin shoved him back with words sharper than any hand. At least my mask doesn't betray the group. At least my silence doesn't tear us apart. Jungkook's laugh was bitter, hollow. The group was already breaking the moment you stopped seeing me as family. Don't you dare put this all on me. The room pulsed with tension, the other members frozen, their voices swallowed by the inferno consuming the two of them. Then Jimin whispered something so quiet it almost vanished in the noise, but Jungkook heard it. Everyone heard it. You were never my brother. Not really. The words slammed into Jungkook like a blade to the chest. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. His world tilted, his vision blurred. And then, without another word, he walked out, leaving silence so heavy it felt like gravity itself had doubled. The concert ended. The cameras turned off. The fans went home, still buzzing. But inside the walls of that stadium, something had died. Something no amount of rehearsals or smiles could bring back. And for the first time, even the members who had stayed silent began to wonder, could they ever stand on the same stage again? The night had not ended, though the concert was over. The cheers had faded, the lights dimmed, and the world outside went back to sleep. But inside the walls of the dorm, the storm only grew louder. Jungkook slammed the door behind him as he entered the kitchen, his breaths uneven, his fists trembling. He didn't know if he was shaking from rage or heartbreak, maybe both. Jimin followed minutes later, his steps heavy, his presence sharp even without a word. The silence between them was unbearable. The kind that presses against the chest until breathing feels impossible. "You didn't have to change the lyrics," Jimin finally said, his tone like a blade scraping across metal. "You didn't have to humiliate me like that." Jungkook spun around, eyes blazing. "Humiliate you? Do you hear yourself? You've been humiliating me for months, mocking me when I cry, tearing me down every chance you get. I gave you a taste of your own cruelty, and now you can't stand it." Jimin's lips curled, his voice rising. "You think what you did tonight was strength? It was selfish. You dragged me into your meltdown in front of thousands of fans. You turned a personal war into public scandal." Jungkook's laughter was bitter, hollow. "And what would you call what you did to me? Laughing at my tears when I was at my lowest? Mocking me in front of the others? Was that not public enough for you? Or did you want the cameras there too?" The others began to gather in the doorway. Namjoon, Jin, Taehyung, Hoseok, Yoongi, each of them tense, each afraid to intervene. They had seen this storm before, but tonight it felt different. Tonight, it felt final. "You're a coward, Jimin," Jungkook continued, his voice cracking but sharp. "You hide behind sarcasm, behind laughter, because you can't admit you're breaking. You're drowning in your own jealousy, and instead of reaching out for help, you drag me under with you." Jimin's fists tightened at his sides, his voice thundered back. "Jealousy? Do you think I care about your stupid spotlight? Do you think I need their cheers? I worked for years to carve out my place. And then you came along, and suddenly everything I did meant nothing. It's not jealousy, Jungkook. It's erasure. You erased me." The words struck hard, silencing the room for a moment. Jungkook's breath caught, his fury wavering as pain seeped in. "I never wanted to erase you," he whispered, his tone breaking. "I wanted you beside me, not behind me. You were supposed to be my brother, Jimin. But you turned yourself into my enemy." Jimin's jaw clenched, his voice low and dangerous. "Brothers don't overshadow each other until one disappears. Brothers don't cry for sympathy, while the other one suffocates in silence." The air cracked with tension. Namjoon finally stepped forward, his voice sharp. "Enough! Both of you! This ends now before we destroy everything we've built." But Jungkook's rage burned too hot to be smothered. "No, it doesn't end here. Not until he admits it. Not until he stops hiding behind excuses and tells the truth." Jimin glared at him, his voice steady but trembling with buried pain. "Fine. You want the truth? Here it is. I laughed because I wanted you to fall. I wanted to see you break, because every time you stood taller, I disappeared. Every time they screamed your name, I became a shadow. And the night you cried was the first time in years I felt alive." Gasps erupted from the others, but Jungkook's silence was louder than any sound. His hands shook, his chest heaved, his eyes burned, but he didn't look away. "You wanted me broken," he whispered, his voice raw, "because that was the only way you could feel whole." Jimin's silence was confirmation enough. Jungkook took a step closer, his words scorching. "Then listen closely, Jimin. I would rather be broken 1,000 times than live as empty as you. At least my tears are real. At least my pain isn't a mask." Jimin's body stiffened, but his voice shot back like lightning. "And I'd rather be empty than be you, addicted to the crowd's love, desperate for validation, so fragile that one crack sends you spiraling. You think your tears are real? They're not. They're performance. You bleed for applause, and you don't even see it." The others tried again to intervene, but the war had consumed them completely. "You're wrong," Jungkook shouted, his voice echoing through the dorm. "I don't cry for them. I cry because I'm human, something you forgot how to be." "Human?" Jimin sneered. "Humans grow up. Humans face reality. You're still a child hiding behind tears, begging for sympathy. Don't call that strength." "Then what do you call yours?" Jungkook fired back. "Silence? Resentment? Laughter at someone else's pain? That's not strength, Jimin. That's cruelty, and you've been cruel to me for far too long." Jimin's chest rose and fell, his mask slipping, his pain bleeding through. "I had to be cruel, because if I wasn't, I would break. And no one cares when I break. No one sees it. No one notices." For the first time, Jungkook's rage faltered. His voice softened, though the pain still laced every word. "I noticed. Every time. But you never let me in. You never trusted me enough to carry that weight with you. And now we're here, tearing each other apart, because you couldn't say you were hurting." The silence that followed was unbearable. Finally, Jimin whispered, almost too softly to hear, I don't know how to be anything else. Jungkook's eyes closed, his breath shaky. Then maybe this was doomed from the start. No one spoke after that. The dorm felt colder than ever, each member retreating into their own thoughts, haunted by the war unfolding before them. Outside, fans celebrated another concert, oblivious to the battlefield behind the curtain. But inside, the fracture widened, and the question no one dared ask hung heavy in the air. How much longer could they survive like this? The dorm had turned into a pressure chamber. Every door felt like a wall, every silence like a scream, waiting to erupt. Jungkook lay awake, staring at the ceiling, his chest burning with words he couldn't swallow. Jimin's confession replayed in his mind, poisoning every corner of his thoughts. I wanted you to break. I wanted to see you fall. It wasn't just betrayal. It was desecration of everything they had built together. He could still hear the crowd's cheers from the concert, still feel the echo of his own words echoing across the stage. But now, those cheers felt empty. The audience saw a performance. What they didn't see was the battlefield hidden behind the curtain, a battlefield Jimin had chosen to ignite. The door creaked. Taehyung entered quietly, pulling up a chair. His tone was low, careful. You can't let this eat you alive, Jungkook. Jungkook turned his head sharply. Eat me alive? He admitted it, Tae. He admitted he laughed at my pain because it made him feel alive. How do I ignore that? Taehyung didn't flinch. By remembering he's drowning too. Maybe not in the same way, but he is. You two, you're bleeding on each other instead of finding a way to stop the wounds. Jungkook sat up, his anger sparking again. Stop defending him. You didn't hear him. He wants me broken. He admitted it. How do I ever trust him again? Taehyung's reply was sharp, almost uncharacteristic. And how do you think he feels, hearing you say you'd rather be broken 1,000 times than live like him? That wasn't mercy, Jungkook. That was a knife. The younger man's fists tightened. So what? I'm supposed to apologize for defending myself? For finally standing up after years of him cutting me down? No, Taehyung said firmly. But you have to decide if you want this to end in ashes or survival. Right now, you're both lighting matches in a room full of gasoline. The words hung heavy. Jungkook wanted to fight, to scream, but a part of him knew Taehyung was right. Still, the bitterness clawed at his throat. He doesn't deserve survival. Not if it means I have to keep bleeding for him. Taehyung leaned closer, his voice almost a whisper. Then be careful, Jungkook. Because if you burn him, you'll burn yourself too. Before Jungkook could respond, the sound of a door slamming down the hall broke the fragile moment. Jimin's voice carried through the dorm, sharp and furious, tangled with Yoongi's lower, steadier tone. You don't understand, Hyung. Don't tell me to calm down. Jimin's shout cut through the night. Yoongi's reply was measured but firm. I understand more than you think. You're not the only one who's felt overshadowed. But turning your pain into his punishment? That's not survival, Jimin. That's destruction. Jungkook rose instantly, storming into the hallway. Jimin was there, pacing like a caged animal, his words spilling out like venom. The moment their eyes met, the air thickened with heat. You think you're the only one hurting? Jimin snapped before Jungkook could speak. You think your tears make you special? I've been bleeding in silence for years while you bathe in the spotlight. And when I finally said it, you painted me as a monster. Jungkook's voice thundered back. Because you are. You admitted you wanted me destroyed. You wanted me shattered so you could finally feel something. Who does that to someone they call family? The hallway trembled with the clash of their voices. Hoseok appeared from his room, Jin following, both looking stricken but hesitant to intervene. Jimin's chest heaved as he hurled the words. I did it because no one ever cared when I was shattered. No one saw me. No one asked. No one gave a damn. Unless I smiled and danced and pretended everything was fine. I laughed at your tears because at least someone finally cracked open in front of me. At least then I wasn't the only broken one. The rawness of the confession sliced through the noise, but Jungkook refused to back down. So instead of asking for help, you dragged me into your hell? You wanted company in your suffering, so you made me bleed too? That's not brotherhood, Jimin. That's betrayal. Jimin's voice dropped, quiet but seething. Maybe betrayal is all I have left. Jungkook's heart thudded painfully, but his rage overpowered the sting. Then maybe you don't belong here anymore. The dorm erupted in chaos. Namjoon shoved forward, his tone commanding. Enough. Both of you. Stop before you say something you can't take back. But the words had already landed. Jimin froze, his eyes dark, his silence more terrifying than his shouting. Then, without another word, he turned and stormed out of the dorm, the door slamming behind him like a gunshot. Jungkook stood trembling, his breath shallow, his chest tight. He expected someone to blame him, to lecture him, but the silence from the others was suffocating. No one moved. No one spoke. Finally, Yoongi muttered, "This is going to destroy us." And no one dared to disagree. The rehearsal room shook with the weight of silence after Jimin's absence stretched into hours. No one wanted to admit it out loud, but the group had split into invisible lines. Jungkook sat in the corner, headphones clamped on though no music played, his body rigid with fury he couldn't smother. Across from him, Taehyung kept glancing toward the door, as if expecting Jimin to return with another storm. Namjoon finally broke the silence. "We can't keep going like this. If we let this rot any longer, there won't be a group left to save." Jungkook tore the headphones off. "Then tell him that. He's the one who wanted me gone, remember? He's the one who laughed when I was at my lowest. Why should I bend to him?" Yoongi's tone was sharp. "Because this isn't about pride, Jungkook. This is about survival. Yours. His. All of ours. Do you think the company won't notice if one of you self-destructs? Do you think the world won't rip us apart if this gets out?" The younger man stood, his voice cracking with rage. "So we keep pretending? We keep covering up the fact that Jimin would rather see me broken than see me breathe? Is that the survival you want, Hyung? Because I'd rather choke than live under that lie." The door slammed open before Yoongi could reply. Jimin walked in, drenched in sweat, eyes wild like he had run for miles. His voice cut through the room like a blade. "Then choke, Jungkook. If your pride means more than the years we've bled together, then choke." Every head whipped toward him, tension snapping like glass. Jungkook advanced instantly, his anger boiling over. "You don't get to walk in here and spit venom after vanishing all night. You don't get to threaten me when you're the reason this group is crumbling." Jimin's laugh was jagged, dangerous. "Me? I'm the reason?" "No, Jungkook. You're the one who parades yourself like a flawless god while the rest of us drown in your shadow. I broke because of you, and now you're breaking because of me. Fair trade, isn't it?" Taehyung jumped in, his voice shaking. "Stop this! Both of you stop! This isn't a fair trade, this is suicide!" But the fire was already uncontrollable. Jungkook shouted back, louder than before. "At least I didn't plot my brother's downfall just to feel alive. At least I didn't laugh at his tears like some sadistic stranger. You disgust me, Jimin." The room spun with gasps from the others. Jimin's fury surged. "You think you're pure? You think you've never cut anyone down? Every time you stand in the spotlight, you kill us quietly. And you know it. You love it. Don't you dare act like your hands are clean." Jungkook stepped closer, his voice trembling with both rage and hurt. "Then say it. Say you hate me. Say you never saw me as a brother. At least give me the truth instead of this endless poison." Jimin's reply was ice. "Maybe I do hate you." The words froze the room. No one breathed. Even the air felt like it recoiled. Jungkook staggered as if struck. For a heartbeat, he couldn't find words. Then the fury roared back, louder than before. "Then why stay?" he screamed. "Why keep chaining yourself to me if all you want is to watch me bleed? Go! Walk out that door and never come back, Jimin. If hate is all you have left, then leave me with nothing. At least then I'll know you're gone for good." Jimin's chest heaved. His silence screamed louder than his voice. Then, suddenly, he grabbed the water bottle on the floor and hurled it across the room, shattering the fragile calm. The crash echoed like a gunshot. "Because leaving would mean you win," Jimin bellowed. "And I will never let you win, Jungkook. Not after everything. Not after you've stolen every breath I've fought for." Namjoon finally snapped, his tone thunderous. "Enough. Both of you are blind. Don't you see? This isn't about winning or losing. It's about all of us falling apart while you two tear each other open. You're killing the group with every word." But Jimin's rage didn't falter. He turned on Namjoon with a sneer. "Then maybe the group should die. Maybe it's better than living this lie where everyone worships him and forgets the rest of us exist." Jungkook lunged forward, but Hoseok grabbed his arm, restraining him with desperate strength. "Don't, Jungkook! Don't let him drag you further down." The younger man struggled, his voice raw. "He wants me destroyed, Hyung. He said it. He admitted it. And now he wants all of us destroyed because he can't stand his own reflection." Jimin's voice lowered, venom dripping from every syllable. "You're right. I can't stand it. Because every time I look in the mirror, all I see is you towering above me. Perfect, untouchable, untouchably fake. You want honesty? There it is. I hate you because I will never be you. And I hate myself for even trying." The words cut deeper than any blade. Jungkook froze, his fury warring with an ache so unbearable it nearly toppled him. Yoongi muttered under his breath, but loud enough for all to hear. "If this goes on, one of you won't survive it. And I don't mean the group. I mean you." The silence that followed was suffocating, filled with the sound of two broken hearts beating in syncopated rage. And in that silence, the future of everything they had built trembled on the edge of collapse. The hotel suite was too quiet, a silence so sharp it felt like everyone was waiting for something to explode. Jungkook sat on the couch, still in his stage clothes, his fists clenched against his knees as if holding himself back from tearing the world apart. Across from him, Jimin leaned against the wall, arms folded, eyes burning holes into the floor, as if he couldn't bear to look at anyone else. The others lingered between them like shadows, caught in the middle of a war they could no longer control. "Say it again." Jungkook's voice cracked the silence like thunder. "Say you hate me, louder this time, so the walls remember it when you finally walk away." Jimin's head snapped up, his words striking without hesitation. "You think it hurts me to admit it? Fine. I hate you, Jungkook. I hate the way you breathe, the way you walk into a room and everyone forgets I exist. I hate that no matter what I give, it's never enough because you're standing next to me. I hate you because you've taken everything and you don't even realize it." The room felt like it tilted. Taehyung muttered under his breath, but the words slipped out anyway. "That's not hate, Hyung. That's envy eating you alive." "Shut up, Taehyung," Jimin snapped instantly, his tone venomous. "Don't you dare pretend you understand what it's like to drown in someone else's perfection every single day. You've never had to fight to be seen when someone like him exists." Jungkook slammed his hand down on the table, his fury detonating. "Do you think I wanted this? Do you think I asked for people to worship me while ignoring you? Do you think I don't see the cracks every time you force a smile? You think it's easy being me? You think it's easy carrying the weight of expectations that could kill me if I fall? You thrive on it," Jimin shouted back, stepping closer now, unable to keep the distance anymore. "Don't pretend you're the victim when you drink their praise like it's oxygen. You want the world at your feet, Jungkook, and you've got it. What's left for the rest of us? Scraps?" Namjoon finally stood, his voice trembling but firm. "Enough, both of you. If you destroy each other, you destroy everything we've built. Is that really what you want?" Jungkook's laugh was bitter, jagged. "What we've built? Tell me, Hyung, what's left to save when the brother I trusted most would rather spit on me than stand with me? When the man I've bled beside wants me erased just so he can feel taller?" Jimin fired back instantly. "You're not my brother anymore. Brothers don't suffocate each other. Brothers don't turn every stage into a battlefield where one of us always loses. If you're waiting for me to call you family again, stop. That word is dead between us." The words sliced through Jungkook like fire. He lurched forward, his voice shaking with something darker than anger. "Then I'll bury it with you. Whatever family we had, it dies here tonight." Yoongi's voice cut in, low but sharp. "Do you two even hear yourselves? You're talking about killing what millions of people believe in, what we gave up our lives for, and you're throwing it away over pride. Pride? Is that what all this blood is worth? Don't twist this," Jimin snarled. "This isn't pride. This is survival. I've been clawing at the walls of this cage for years, while he stands in the spotlight smiling, and none of you saw it. None of you cared. You let me rot in his shadow because you were too busy worshiping him too." Hoseok finally snapped. "That's not true. We've cared for you every step. We've begged you to open up, to let us in, and you shut us out every damn time. Don't you dare blame us for the walls you built yourself." Jimin turned on him, his voice rising, frantic and raw. "Because if I let you in, you'd see how much I wanted to break him. How much I wanted to watch him fall, so I could finally stand. And what kind of monster admits that about his own brother? The confession hung heavy in the air, more damning than anything yet. Jungkook's chest heaved as the words sank in, a mix of horror and grief tearing through him. So it's true. You've wanted me ruined all along, and you didn't care what it would cost me, or the group, or anyone else. You just wanted me broken so you could breathe. Jimin's eyes burned with tears. He refused to let fall. Yes, and maybe that makes me a monster. But at least I'm honest about it. At least I'm not hiding behind the illusion of being untouchable while rotting on the inside like you. Jungkook staggered back as if the words had struck him physically. His voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. If honesty is all you've got left, then let me give you mine. I will never forgive you, Jimin. Not for mocking me. Not for wishing me dead. Not for spitting on the bond we swore would never break. You're not my brother. You're just a stranger who knows how to hurt me best. Taehyung stepped between them, desperation in his tone. Stop, please! You're tearing holes that will never heal! You don't understand what you're doing to each other! But they ignored him. Jimin's voice was sharp as glass. Then maybe we should stop pretending. Maybe the truth is we were never brothers. Maybe we were just rivals chained together until one of us finally snapped. Jungkook's rage erupted, his voice echoing through the room. Then I'll snap the chain myself. From this moment, you mean nothing to me. And with those words, he stormed out, slamming the door so hard it rattled the walls. The others stood frozen in the wreckage, but Jimin didn't move. He just whispered to the empty space where Jungkook had been, a whisper that carried both defiance and despair. Good, because meaning nothing is better than meaning less. The night after Jungkook walked out of the suite felt endless. The city outside kept breathing, lights flashing, cars humming. But inside the hotel walls, the group was a battlefield, broken without a single shot fired. Jimin hadn't moved in hours, still leaning against the wall like he had been carved there, replaying every word he had spat out, every truth he couldn't pull back now. When the door finally opened again, everyone tensed, expecting Jungkook. But it was him, and not him, at the same time, the same clothes, the same frame, but a silence around him that didn't belong to anyone they knew. He didn't even sit. He just stood there in the middle of the room, his voice cutting through the stillness like a blade. You wanted me gone, Jimin. Congratulations, I'm gone. Jimin lifted his eyes, his tone as sharp as it had been before. You walked out. That was your choice. Don't pretend you're handing me something I didn't already take. Jungkook's laugh was humorless, cold. You think you took anything from me? No. What you did was worse. You made me realize that everything I believed in, every memory, every vow, every word was a lie. You made me see that family was just a story we told ourselves so we wouldn't feel alone in the dark. Namjoon rose, his voice rough. Don't say that. Don't reduce all of this to nothing. You two are poisoning each other, and if you keep going, you'll burn the rest of us with you. Let it burn, Jimin snapped. Maybe ashes are better than this. Yoongi swore under his breath. Ashes don't sing. Ashes don't hold concerts. Ashes don't carry millions of fans who would die for you both. If you burn this, you burn them too. Are you ready to live with that? Jimin turned on him, words laced with venom. Don't you dare talk to me about fans right now. You don't know what it feels like to have thousands screaming someone else's name while you stand right there beside him, invisible. You don't know what it's like to be erased alive. I do, Yoongi said quietly. And for the first time, the others fell silent. His voice carried weight because it didn't shout, it admitted. Do you think I don't hear the way they cheer for vocals louder than rap? Do you think I don't see the comments comparing me to others, asking why I'm here at all? I've been erased too, Jimin. The difference is, I don't want to erase someone else just to be seen. Jungkook's eyes flickered, but he didn't soften. That's because you're stronger than him. Or maybe, Yoongi countered, because I know destroying the person next to me won't make me whole. The words landed like a punch, but Jimin refused to flinch. Don't preach to me, Yoongi. You don't know how far I've already fallen. I can't crawl back up now. Then stop dragging me down with you, Jungkook roared suddenly, his fury finally breaking free. If you want to fall, fall alone. I've carried you long enough. You mocked me when I cried, you spit on me when I begged you to stand with me, and now you want me to bleed with you too? No more. You don't get that from me anymore. Jimin stepped forward, fire in his eyes. And you think you're innocent? You think you haven't killed me piece by piece every time they screamed your name louder than mine? You think standing next to you hasn't been its own kind of death? Taehyung finally shouted, his voice raw with desperation. "Stop it, both of you. Stop talking about death like it's a game you can win. Don't you hear yourselves? You're tearing each other apart in ways that won't heal, and I can't stand here watching my family destroy itself while pretending it's just another fight." Jungkook turned to him, voice sharp. "Then leave if you can't handle it." "No." Taehyung's hands trembled. "I won't leave, because if I leave, one of you won't survive this, and I refuse to watch either of you disappear." The silence that followed was suffocating. For a moment, even Jimin faltered, his anger cracking just enough to let something else bleed through. But then he straightened, his words deliberate. "You say you won't survive me, Jungkook. Maybe that's the point. Maybe one of us has to die for the other to finally live." And the air fractured again, as if the weight of that possibility had been spoken into existence. "Say it again," Jungkook hissed, standing so close his words cut like fire. "Say it again, Jimin, so everyone here knows you meant it." Jimin didn't blink. His voice was low but sharp enough to pierce the silence. "Maybe one of us does have to die for the other to finally live." The room erupted with shock, voices overlapping, but Jungkook's laugh drowned them all. It wasn't joyful, it was fractured, mocking, daring. "So that's it. That's your solution. Not fixing, not forgiving, not fighting for us. Just erasure. Just death." Namjoon slammed his hand against the table, his voice shaking. "Stop throwing that word around like it's a weapon. You don't mean it, Jimin." But Jimin's tone didn't waver. "Don't I? I meant every word. I'm tired of living in the shadow of someone who never even asked to cast it. I'm tired of fighting for scraps of recognition while the world worships him like a god. If it takes one of us breaking for the other to finally breathe, then so be it." Jungkook stepped closer, his fury vibrating in every syllable. "You want me gone? You want me erased so badly? Fine. But understand this, if I disappear, you'll choke on the silence. You'll beg for the noise of my name echoing across arenas, because you'll realize it was the only thing keeping yours alive." Jimin's reply was a knife. "And if I disappear, you'll drown in the weight of what you did to me. Every cheer will taste like blood. Every victory will sound like betrayal. You'll never sing a note without hearing the ghost of me." Taehyung shouted, voice cracking under the strain. "Why are you both doing this? Why are you making each other into weapons? We're supposed to be brothers, not executioners." Yoongi's voice cut through, quiet but lethal. "Because brothers bleed each other. The deepest. Don't act surprised." Jungkook turned to him, furious. "You think this is normal? You think this is just what brothers do? No, Yoongi. This isn't brotherhood. This is war. And I didn't start it." "Yes, you did," Jimin snapped instantly. "The moment you let them crown you, the golden one. The moment you stood on stage and basked in it while I was left screaming into the void." "I didn't ask for any of it," Jungkook roared back. "Do you think I chose to be worshipped? Do you think I wanted to be untouchable while you shattered beside me? I would have given it to you if I could. But the world doesn't work like that, Jimin. And you know it. Then why did you laugh when I cried?" Jimin's words trembled, but not with weakness, with rage sharpened by memory. "Why did you mock me instead of lifting me up? You could have made space for me. You could have shared the crown. But you didn't. You let me rot." The confession ripped something out of Jungkook. He staggered back a step, his anger colliding with a sudden, raw ache. "Because I was scared," he admitted, his voice breaking for the first time that night. "Scared that if I reached for you, I'd lose it all. Scared that if I let you in, I'd be nothing again. I wanted to be strong. I wanted to be untouchable. And I destroyed you in the process." The room fell into a suffocating silence. No one moved. No one breathed. Jimin finally spoke, softer now, but no less dangerous. "So you admit it. You admit you built your kingdom on my bones." "I admit," Jungkook whispered, "that I became everything I swore I'd never be, and I don't know how to stop." Namjoon's voice trembled with both fury and grief. "Then both of you need to decide right now whether you want to keep killing each other, or whether you want to try and crawl out of this wreckage together. Because I swear to God, if this goes any further, there won't be a group left to save." But Jimin's eyes never left Jungkook. "I don't care about the group right now. I don't care about saving what's already broken. All I care about is this Jungkook admitting that I was the sacrifice he chose to make. And I did, Jungkook spat, a bitter smile curling his lips. I chose myself over you. Congratulations. You win. You get to hate me forever. Jimin's voice cracked with venom. I don't just hate you. I want you to feel what I felt. I want the world to turn on you the way it turned on me. I want them to boo you off the stage, to look at you and see nothing but a fraud. Jungkook's fury snapped back in full force. Then maybe I should give them the truth. Maybe I should go on stage tomorrow and tell them everything, every word you just